Hello everyone and welcome back to Crimea from the Eastern Front series of GMT Games. And we are on turn 3, and I think what I'm going to do now is just going to do like some recaps. So I'm going to play through, do some recaps, bring you in if there's something interesting. That way we can kind of get through this because doing like the whole step-by-step thing does take a while to edit and record, and this will actually get us somewhere in progress in the campaign without me feeling like I'm spending too long just playing the same game, because there's other games I want to play, so I hope you understand if you have made it this far. This turn, what I think we're going to see is Manstein taking over Voinka and moving on towards the 51st Army, who of course is going to be trying to get the Jankoy, but the SS Brigade and the Romanians are coming down through here with only one like reduced strength rifle division blocking their way. So Jankoy is looking a little dicey. Good news is we have this rifle division in Yevpatoria and this cavalry division in Akhmachet, who I think we're going to try to bring him down to here. We're going to ungarrison him and bring him down to here so that we have something in the way of like a base to launch maybe counterattacks on the German supply lines. And since there's a port here, we can start putting in some of our Soviet naval forces to provide artillery support. So that's why we have the light cruiser Kharkov here. We've got our fortification starting over here in Feodosia, and Kerch will soon be starting to build up, while in Sevastopol our ZAP units are trying to get back up to strength the Odessa garrison that's there. And so yeah, that's where we're at the start of turn 3, and I'll bring you back to show you what's happening as we go. Okay, here we are at the end of the German combat phase. So we made 2 attacks. One up here from this rather multicolored, multinational attack force. Oops. Kicked out that reduced rifle division that was hanging out here. So they've cleared this isthmus. And then we made an attack with the 22nd Infantry Division, some engineers, and some anti-tank battalions on the stack of the 51st Army that was here. We did inflict 2 step losses, but then there was a retreat result, so they just retreated to Jankoy. It actually worked out pretty well for the Soviets. I'm not sure if maybe I shouldn't have attacked this stack, because then we could have maybe I have to check. So they would have gotten half movement, half 2. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that this recon battalion could have gotten into Jankoy had the Soviets just stayed there. So maybe we shouldn't have made this attack, now that I think about it. With our other infantry divisions and Ziegler's motorized brigade, it's like a Kampfgruppe that was formed out of a Stug battalion and a motorcycle battalion, I believe. He kind of came down here and has taken up a position in Alexandrovka, and he is hoping, he's about at the limit of their supply line, because he's got 6 hexes here from the road. So yeah, he can't really go much further until we kick out this stack here, which is going to be proving a thorn in our side, I think. So this is the end of the Axis combat phase. Now we're going to go into Axis motorized movement, and I'll bring you back probably at the end of the turn. Alright, so here we are at the end of game turn 62, turn 3 of the scenario. So the Soviets have kind of we haven't really done much. We moved the 42nd Cavalry Division from Akhmachet to Yevpatoria, and so now they have 6 defense strength, which is pretty solid in Yevpatoria, with the Kharkov providing artillery support, so that's pretty good. Over here, just off camera, Feodosia has its strong point. We also put a strong point right here, building in Vladislavovka, which is kind of a rail hub on the Kerch Peninsula, and it seems like a natural choke point for units coming down this way. The nice thing is there's no major roads. They have to come down to Simferopol to get on this major road, and that's kind of out of the way. Otherwise, there's just minor roads coming in here. And so hopefully, I think we'll be able to hold out at least another turn or two, get this fortification built, or the strong point built, maybe get one more unit in Simferopol. We brought up the 241st Regiment from the 95th Rifle Division and put it in Simferopol. Again, just kind of to delay as much as we can. We're not going to use the strong points per se, but they do add +1 movement for German units entering them, so that's kind of nice. So we'll just keep them there. And then in Sevastopol, there's nothing really much to see. There's a lot more room that you have to cover than you'd think or expect. But we did get 2 ZAP units into the city, so they'll be able to start beefing up the Odessa garrison units, and we'll be able to get them on the front line of Sevastopol. And we just need the 51st Army to delay, I think maybe like 2 more turns, 3 more turns. If we can get, ideally, if we could get 3 more turns out of them up here, the climate turns to mud, and then it'll be really hard for the Germans to move through all this open space in the middle of the Crimea Peninsula. So 3 turns ideally, but the Germans it's going to be a process to move these super heavy artilleries down to where they can take aim at Jankoy. So we might have to actually use our engineers. We do have 2 pioneer battalions coming up. And then we're going to have to figure out a way to get these guys out of Diskorici. The motorized, the Romanian and the SS motorized kind of conf group up here. So you have the elements of the 8th Romanian Cavalry Brigade, it looks like. And then the SS motorized brigade. They're kind of like they can't really exploit like they want to because the 51st Army is in Jankoy. Oh, forgot to move that, sorry. I always forget to remove the interdict markers. But yeah, so these guys are kind of stuck up in this corner now because we'd have to infiltrate past Jankoy or we'd have to come all the way around, and that just eats up our movement points. So maybe next turn we'll be able to do like regular movement and then motorized movement to kind of get further down, but we won't be able to get too far further down here until we displace these guys from this little town here so that we can get our road situation going. That's the end of game turn 62, scenario turn 3. So on to game turn 63. All right, here we are at the end of the axis movement phase. So we moved up these 2 stacks around Jankoy. We try to bring Ziegler around. Maybe we can get a cutoff or something, make them surrender. If we get here, I think we can force them to surrender. Maybe in the axis movement, motorized movement phase, we can get here, force them surrender. And we moved a couple infantry divisions up to Diskorchi. Gosh, I'm so sorry. A lot of these don't sound like Russian names, like Dulzbar, Donislav, obviously Frydorf. Yeah, so the Crimea is just like a very interesting hodgepodge. Anyway, that's a tangent. So we're kind of just moving down this road. I think we're not going to attack anything this turn. It's a mud turn, so our artillery is not going to be as effective. We have some turns to play with, and I'd rather get overwhelming forces rather than lose steps. Looking at the map T holding box, we see that the Soviets don't have anything coming down the pike as far as reinforcements. So I think one turn to preserve our forces from having to do bad odds attacks will be worth it. And we also have our super heavy artillery moving. We have a couple of reinforcements coming in, the Romanians, 132nd Infantry Division. So yeah, that's the German movement completed. Oops. Alright, here we are at the end of the German movement phase. So we sent the 132nd Infantry Division. They're going to be going down here to take Akhmechet, and then they'll probably start pushing down towards Yevpatoria. Once we get this cleared out, we'll be able to divert some other infantry divisions out this way. We just need to clean up most of this side of the peninsula. We've moved everybody down. We have a pretty good attack, I think, lined up on the Soviet units who had fallen back to Ajbar. Even though they're going to get a what's it called, a terrain bonus, but I think we still have enough. I think we have like 3 infantry divisions, a pioneer battalion, a couple artillery, so I think we're good there. Now over here, the SS brigade used all their movement to move around here and took up positions outside of Koldi and basically cut off the retreat for the 51st Army. Ziegler's brigades shifted over so that their Zocs are all covering the retreat. And so if they do have to retreat too, they're going to be ending in a German Zoc. And then we have these 2 fat stacks ready for the attack. So the attack declaration, obviously we're attacking Jankoy and we're attacking Ajba. Soviet reaction, they don't have any reaction. They do have, they're not interdicted. Our interdiction attempt failed. So they will have no retreat order. And now the combat, the Axis didn't get much for the air readiness because it's a storm turn. But we are going to get our Ju-88, or Ju-87, and I think a Ju-88 over here, and then we have 3 Bf-109s that we can assign. I think we'll assign the Bf-109F here, the E here, and then the other E here. The Soviets will not sortie because neither of their fighters passed their readiness check because of the storm. So we're just going to go in with, I guess, all 3 as mission units and both of these as mission units. First, the Soviet headquarters has its +1 for Soviet firing HQ. So we'll do the Ju-87, it's a -1 for shooting him, so it's a straight die roll. A 6 is no effect, so the Ju-87 gets through. The Bf-109 is +1. A 10 is damaged, yikes. And the Bf-109E is also a 9, is aborted. Sorry, it's a 10 because of the headquarters, so it's also damaged. So we got 2 close air support points there on this attack. And now we have a Soviet infantry division here, but we don't get the +1 for the Soviet headquarters, obviously. So a 7 is no effect, so he goes through, and the Bf-109, a 3, he goes through, so that's 2 as well. All right, that's the close air support. So we allocate artillery now. So these 2 coastal, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm using these coastal defense batteries as artillery. Don't see why not. So these two are going to attack here. And then we have these 3 artillery attacking Jankoy. And now we spend our supply. We'll spend 1 supply out of this dump to supply this attack. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess 1 supply from here, from this dump in Voinka, to supply this attack. Alright, so we'll do this attack first. So we have 8, 13, 18, 20, 27, 28, 29 to 3, 4, 5, 6. 29 to 6 is 4 to 1. Whew, that hurt my head a little bit. We have -2 for the close air support. And we have, I think, -1 for, oh no, it's not a mud turn, so there's no terrain effects for the town. So it's just -2 on the 4 to 1 column. 3 minus 2 is 1, and that's a 3R. Okay, so we destroyed the cavalry division and took a step off the infantry division. So that was 3 steps, retreated 2, now we're back to here. And now the Germans can advance after combat. I think we will move 46th Infantry Division in, as well as the engineers maybe? No, yeah, we'll move the engineers in. So that's that combat completed. Now we head up to here. And let me do some counting. Alright, so it's 31 to 6, so 5 to 1. We don't have combined arms or anything. We are going to use engineering effects. So -1, -2 is -3. On the defender side, we have +1 for the strong points. We're down to -2. Oops, that's dumb of me. And then +1 for the no retreat. So we're down to a -1 on the 5 to 1 column, I believe I said. So here we go. 6 on the 5 to 1 column is just a 1 step loss. So who are we gonna guess we'll destroy the armored regiment because he sucks on defense. So, and I don't see us attacking anytime soon. So Jankoy holds, but I think he's going to be out of supply next turn unless they can do something to break the cordon. So yeah, that's the Axis attack phase completed, or combat phase, sorry. So we have the Axis motorized movement phase, and I think we don't want to get in here with our actually we are just going to consolidate our motorized units. Alright, so I finally looked up the rule on the Soviet surrender table. Even though these forces in Jankoy are going to be cut off and forced to roll for the Soviet surrender table, they are within command range of an operational Soviet HQ, and they have a fortification. So that's a +2 DRM, and as you can see, there's no way that they can lose it. I mean, they're going to be out of supply, but they won't surrender, which is unfortunate. So we have all these units tied up here as the Germans just because we can't get into Jankoy. Alright, so it's going to take a while for this hex to, or this stack to surrender or be out of supply with any adverse effects. So we're going to move these motorized units, I think, down to Bujukonlar, because we at least have the road. So here's 21 hexes on the road net going this way. So actually we would be able to throw our supply pretty far out. So I think we might actually go down to, so we'll send the SS Brigade out this way, and probably Ziegler as well. And let's see if we can't have those two maybe meet down in Karasubazar, get to the coast, capture Alushta, which I think is a victory point hex, and kind of outflank the Simferopol defenses. So yeah, that's motorized movement done, and I'll bring you back to the end of the turn. Alright, here we are at the end of the turn. This is the end of turn 64. So what the Soviets have done is they've reinforced Simferopol just to be kind of a thorn in the side of the Germans. So can you see that? Yep. Okay, so we have a reduced rifle division, a rifle regiment, artillery unit. Those guys came down from up here after they retreated. They just continued down the road. We also brought up an anti-aircraft regiment from Sevastapol. I mean, yes, we might be throwing it away, but I think it will help Simferopol last another turn or two. Actually, we have to flip that over because the Germans have to come down this road to really get supply back around here, I believe. And without Jankoy opened, we can't progress the railroad, which we could start doing, I think, in 2 turns maybe. I have to look. So yeah, that is the end of this turn. So the Germans are going to have to just go ahead and attack Jankoy again. Maybe they can maneuver around some more units. 132nd Infantry Division has to start mopping up over here. The 170th and the 46th have to start moving down to Simferopol, which is going to be a pain. The 2 motorized brigades. So yeah, I don't know what we're going to do with them, because I think if we were doing the full campaign, not just the 3-turn scenario, or the scenario 3, at some point around now we'd have to declare whether we're doing the Kerch plan or the Sevastopol plan. And so this kind of shows the dilemma the Germans have, because like we're at this inflection point where we have to decide what way we're going to go. And right now Sevastopol and Simferopol are looking pretty chunky, while Kerch is looking a little less protected, but it's further from our supply lines. And without the railroad, it's going to stretch us pretty thin, I think. So we definitely need to take Jankoy, because then we can trace our supply from this way on the road. Well, from up here actually on the railroad, the captured railroad, and that will let us extend further into Kerch. So yeah, that's the end of game turn 64. And we're on the game turn 65, which is October 26th and 27th. Alright, here we are at the end of Axis movement. So these infantry divisions moved up, trying to push on Simferopol. Unfortunately, we diverted our super heavy artillery, so this was a mistake. We diverted it to Jankoy. Probably should have just kept it rolling down here. Anyway, so that's that mistake. This infantry division and this motorized pioneer battalion heading over to Akhmachet. These 2 motorized Kampfgruppe, I guess it would be, have moved towards Feodosia, where there's more than they expected, I believe. 5 defense points in a stronghold. I think there's this. I think this is terrain as well. So yeah, they're going to have their hands full, and I don't know if they're going to attack. Now we have to declare our attacks though, so we don't have time to think. We're obviously going to attack Jankoy, and I don't think we're going to attack Feodosia yet. So it's just Jankoy. Our interdiction attempts failed miserably, so the 51st Army is going to do a no retreat. Now the Axis combat. I also think I stacked the. I had too much on a stack up here at one point, so that's my bad. They kind of got lost under these step loss markers. Anyway, so let's go ahead and do this combat. So you're going to do close. I'll do all of this stuff and bring you back for the die roll. How about that? All right, so we're on the 6-to-1 column here. We have -3 for the close air support, -1 for the attacking engineering effects, +1 for the strong point, so -3, +1 for no retreat, -2, so -2 on the 6-to-1 column, I believe I said. Oh boy, so at 10, -2 is 8 on the 6-to-1. Sorry, I just had a power surge. So we're on the so we got a retreat result, but we have a no retreat marker. Now, I could be wrong, but I think because we occupy a strong point, so I think we're on 2. All other attacker defender no retreat combos must take 1 step loss unless all defending units occupy a non-destroyed fortification hex. Okay, so we have to take a step loss and we cancel the retreat. So this guy is destroyed. We're down to 1 reduced division, but we're still holding strong. So Jankoy, keep up the good work. And real quick, I just forgot to move the MSUs, of course. Always forget those buggers. So these trucks move down, trying to get over to this Kampfgruppe. And of course, these guys are going to support the Simferopol attack. All right, so we didn't really do much on the Soviet movement phase. I think we probably should have pulled out 51st Army headquarters while we had the chance. But now they're kind of just resigned to their fate. We do have the 44th Army in a garrison in the map T holding box, so we'll probably pull off his garrison marker next turn and bring him in over in Kerch if we can, and use him to organize the defenses there. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. We did move the K-Krim light cruiser into Feodosia. Hopefully we'll be able to use him to good effect for artillery support. And that's the end of game turn 65. Now we're on to game turn 66, and it looks like it might be getting muddy. We're on turn 66. I think it's turn 1. So it's turn 6 of scenario 3. So if we were playing the full campaign, the Germans would have to decide if they're doing Kerch or Sevastopol now. And looking at the way this is turning out, I think, well, I don't know. This is becoming, it's almost like to the point where I'm wondering if I played a rule wrong or something, because they're just so stubborn. I mean, we have pretty good cover. Yevpatoria is going to be a pain to take. To be honest, looking at the Sevastopol inset map, I'm going to bring you over there, so one sec. So here's the Sevastopol inset map of the Sevastopol defenses. I mean, they're pretty solid. I don't know how the Germans would take that. They'd have to bring down their super heavy artillery. That's going to take a while for them to get down that one little road. They have all these naval units here that could provide artillery support once we do breach the outside defenses. So I think we would go for Kerch, because this is what the Kerch side of the things look like. We have our little motorized Kampfgruppe outside of Feodosia. However, they don't have any artillery support. They only have, I think, 12 strength points in attack against 5 in defense with a strong point marker, 6 in defense with the light cruiser. So that's 2 to 1. Don't like those odds really. Maybe once we get the Romanians down here, that would help. But we still have to take Jankoy, and I swear, like, because it's holding out for so long, it's making me think I'm missing a rule or playing a rule wrong or something like that. What's really hurting us though is not being able to interdict the headquarters, because without interdicting the headquarters they can do the little no retreat thing, and that just really puts a damper on everything. I think maybe if not this turn, the next turn we'll be able to punch through Simferopol's defenses. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 infantry divisions, a pioneer battalion, a couple of artilleries coming down the pike. Let's see kind of where we get in this turn. I'll bring you back at the end of it probably, or at least for some combats. Alright, so for our combat in Jankoy, we have 2 close air support. It's 30 to 3, so it's not great. Oh, forgot to do... Of course, our interdiction failed, so we're going to issue no retreat orders. So 30 to 3, -2 for close air support, -1 for engineering effects is -3, +1 for a strong point, +1 for no retreat is -1 overall on the 10 to 1 column. So, 10 -1 is a 2-step loss retreat. So finally, we have destroyed the Jankoy garrison. And we have to destroy the Soviet headquarters unit because to satisfy the other step loss, MSU will be lost, and we're going to end up with a division in Jankoy. So I'm just going to take this off so I don't have to fiddle with it anymore. And we'll just advance, I guess, this stack into Jankoy. And now we're going to go down here to this combat. Now the this little conf group is an emergency supply. So we're gonna, if we're still in no supply at the end of this turn, we're gonna be out of supply, and that's gonna be bad. Anyway, I'll tally up everything, bring you back for the die roll. Okay, so we're in. It's 2 to 1 odds. The -1 for the close air support, +1 for the strong point, and +1 for the hills mean it's a +1 on the 2 to 1 die roll. Maybe this is a bad decision, but if we can reduce Feodosia before, actually, so 2 to 1 +1, here we go, an 8 as, well, okay, nothing. So that attack kind of just peters out. I think this is going to be the last video of the series, so I'm just going to go ahead and do an attack here just to see what would have happened. I probably should have done an attack here anyway, but yeah, so let's go ahead and resolve this attack too. Alright, so I'm obviously getting tired because I forgot to do this attack up in Akhmachet. I just went ahead and did it, and obviously we destroyed the coastal artillery thing there, so now they're going to have to come down to help this infantry division take Yevpatoria. I did the attack on Simferopol, but it was like the one result where there was like nothing happened for either side. So I played through the rest of the turn. Yeah, the Romanians just moved over in the Axis motorized movement phase. The Soviets didn't really do anything. They kind of moved some stuff around in Sevastapol, but they're going to be pretty happy with Simferopol, I think, historically. So yeah, let's see, so we're at the end of turn 66, and let's see where we're at. So in 2 turns we would have to, the historical at least, 2 turns we would have to take Alushta, which is here. I think we could probably do it with the Romanians. In Same thing, in 2 turns we'll have to take Feodosia, which I think is possible. We could actually send the Romanians up this way maybe, and send maybe the 170th Infantry Division down to Alushta. So I think we could capture them by the historical capture period, and we would get 4 VPs for that. Kerch historically is captured in turn 72, which is, what, 5 turns from now. I think it'd be doable now that we have Jankoy open. Maybe do some like strategic movement or something. What else? Simferopol was taken in turn 67. That's next turn. So next turn this would have been taken. I think that's actually possible. So theoretically, if we took Simferopol, that's probably why Lushta was the next turn, because it just walked down the highway. Yevpatoria, which is spelled differently here and here. That's kind of funny. I think this is probably spelled correctly on the map, because it's a ya at the end, and here it's just a ya. Anyway, so turn 66. Oh yikes, that's this turn. I guess the Soviets maybe pulled out all their units over here, but we won't be getting it this turn. The Jankoy, oh okay, that makes me feel better. So historically it fell in game turn 66, so we get 2 victory points for that. Unfortunately, because we didn't capture it sooner, we didn't get the bonus victory points, and honestly I think that's a mistake on my part, because we brought in the SS brigade for 3 victory points, and the idea was they're going to pay for themselves by capturing Jankoy before game turn 65, and they didn't. So the Soviets are up on that front. But we did, where is it? Gain VPs because we eliminated a Soviet headquarters to satisfy combat step loss, so that's 2 victory points. So let me just tally up real quick. So we do 1, 2. Okay, so it's not great. Right now we're sitting on 1 victory point for the Germans. So right now we're on a Soviet strategic victory. Obviously you can see the historical score was a 12 by the end of this scenario, because I'm assuming Sevastapol, if you can capture Sevastopol sooner somehow, that gets you a boatload more victory points. So yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap up this scenario there. If I was playing with somebody else, this would be awesome, because then you just have to worry about sort of one side's units, and I would love to play this with somebody. But so if you're out there and gonna play over Vassal or something, let me know. Love this system, love this installment of the system. The map is just, it's only yay big, and there's a lot of room to maneuver, though you don't have very maneuverable units, and a lot of strategic decisions to make. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this series. If you did, leave a comment, let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, bye for now.